All right, man. I don't think we would be a proper podcast if we didn't talk about Ozzy. At the time of this recording, it's only been several days since he's passed away. And David, it's amazing because over the last few days, it's not just been in the music community. Like all the podcasts I listen to, they're talking about Ozzy.
Never, I even just going out and about all year, all
Yeah,
the playing. It's like a nation in mourning, world in mourning for sure.
yeah,
I mean, because it was he was such an icon and part of everybody's of our generation's life that like even with the TV, even if we're into music, you knew him because of the TV show or something,
yeah, yeah. The
or the
Ozzy.
crazy, biting the head off the bats or whatever it was. Like somebody knows about Ozzy.
Yeah, you're a little older than me. I'm 48, so my whole childhood, Ozzy. CDs.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, yeah, I bet. And then yeah, for sure, you were Black Sabbath.
It was Sabbath in 1981. I was like, what, 15 years old. I went to Blizzard of Oz concert.
Yeah, that was your first time seeing him.
Yeah, I didn't see him with Sabbath, but had the records and stuff. But yeah, because I have a whole thing when I first heard Randy play and stuff. But yeah, I went to the Blizzard of Oz concert they played in Seattle with Motorhead opening on the Bomber tour.
Nice.
Got to see Randy, Tommy Aldridge, and Rudy Zarzo.
The classic solo lineup.
Yeah.
It's a shame Ozzy didn't keep Tommy, man. He's an underrated drummer. Nobody.
Oh my God, he's one of the greatest ever. Double bass guys.
Yeah, what a beast. How was that? Kind of walk us through that. Where'd you see him? What venue was it?
It was mind blowing. God, walk you through that one. All right. Well, okay. So I was talking off camera with you about working at a record store. So I had gotten a job at a record store and I was 15 and a half. So I could only work one day a week, because of like the hours or something. I don't know, whatever.
Right.
Stocking records. I ended up working there into my 20s. I worked there for a long time. Became a buyer, record buyer and all that. But right when I started working, it was they were doing that first tour for Blizzard of Oz, and Crazy Train was hitting radio. And I remember hearing it for the first time. There was a black, like handheld transistor radio. That was my dad's. And it was in my mom's room, and I was doing chores or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I had it on listening to music. And Crazy Train came on, and I heard that guitar tone, the opening riff, and I just freaked out. I was like, what is this? Who, just going nuts. And so I get this job and I'm there, and on the counter, where you check out, was a stand-up cardboard promotion thing of win a trip on the Crazy Train. So they had this promotion where you could go and have dinner with Ozzy on some train or something. And it was like, you signed up for it to win. And I couldn't because I was working there now. So I wasn't allowed to enter the contest. But nonetheless, and so my guitar buddy friend, how you got your other rocker friend in high school and school, Ross Williamson, I remember his name, great guitar player, wonder what happened to him. Anyway, I said, dude, we gotta go to this guy, Ozzy. And we got tickets. My dad took us down there and dropped us off. And we got there. Really, I might have I think I'd seen a Coliseum concert before. I think I saw Sammy Hagar or something. Mm-hmm. Red Rocker as he was then. And
oh no, so
it was when he went solo there. But I saw, and maybe even the Kings. I saw a couple of big Coliseum concerts, but this was at the Paramount in Seattle, so it was a big theater. And it was crazy because there's all these Ozzy fans there, and they're all doing the like it was like kind of freaky for a 15-year-old, like these like hippie kind of dudes and stuff. And everyone was standing on the chairs, on the armrests of the chairs, not on the chairs, but on the armrests, even higher. When it came out, and I wasn't really familiar yet with Motorhead, so they're blowing my mind watching Motorhead, and they had the giant bomber, like a bomber plane, for their lighting rig.
Right. Pictures.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. We were just tripping. And then we stayed late after the show on the side of the Paramount where the buses were, and we watched Randy walk out, and he walked out with an anvil, one of those anvil cases. You ever see those little anvil briefcases?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to have one immediately after I saw him walk out with one of those.
What-
But he walked out on the bus and, he had his leather coat and his hair. Me and Ross were the only two yelling Randy. And everybody else was like Ozzy, waiting for Ozzy. So we had early Randy fans. And and I bought a bootleg T-shirt. Wish I would have bought a real one out in the street. But I got the program, and I had that. There was a picture in it of a portrait of Randy, and I had that on my wall. I had it pegged on my wall that was my dream picture, just idolizing Randy. And then I saw the Diary of a Madman tour, which here, speaking of programs, I dug out. I can't find my Blizzard of Oz ones, but here's my Diary of a Madman tour.
Flip through.
Yeah,
Look. Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
All right.
Wow.
And it shows the back was killer because it showed all their gear.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, all the gear that they used. And and I have the Blizzard of Oz one somewhere. I can't find it, but so just massive. It just changed everything. And then, my cream colored Les Paul, you can kind of see in the background there.
Yeah, you were telling me off camera.
Which, for the record, I did not get because of Randy. I had it. I got it that year before because it was cool, and it was like a Christmas present. I wanted guitar lessons, and I already had started guitar lessons, but I didn't have a really good guitar. I had a knockoff Strat or something. And so I was showing enough interest that my dad, I said, okay, we'll get you a good one. So I had that. So when he came out and he had that cream colored Les Paul, I didn't know what kind of guitar he played.
Right.
Dude, that was like epic for me.
What year is that?
It was that's a 79.
Okay.
So, which adds up to the years. So so I had this, to me, it was such a calling and signs of my path to follow. But, and then, just, I was into Jakey Lee and, all the Ozzy's. Dude, I just thinking of having the Blizzard of Oz album cover, like always out, and staring at it like whether I was going to sleep and it was there, but it always creepy out. It's kind of like the Boston album cover for me because I used to trace that and stuff. It was like one of the most used record. It was always out. So just the memory of seeing Ozzy with the cross.
Yeah. He was a pioneer with freaking everybody out with Black Sabbath too. Dude, still that first Black Sabbath album, the intro is like,
oh my God.
It's dark. It's spooky.
It's scary shit stuff. And my God, very first jams ever with drummers or whoever just starting was, you're going to play Paranoid or something.
Absolutely.
It's like a classic. So Ozzy is just legendary is just a word that's thrown around a lot, but he definitely was.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nobody that sounds like him. He was totally influenced by the Beatles, but sounds nothing like
such a Beatles fan. Yeah.
Such an original sound at the time. Like, I remember my first Ozzy, I was 8 in 1985, but I remember getting the cassette tape to The Ultimate Sin. That was one of my very first albums that I had. It was that and the first Metallica. I had that one on vinyl, which I still have around here somewhere. But
I had the Metallica demo cassette.
Yeah. I have an early press. It was that during that time, so it was like an early press.
Well, my band was going down to Frisco all the time playing, so we were early day.
Yeah.
Tape traders and all that.
So you got into Sabbath first. See, my thing was, it was the opposite. Like, I got into Ozzy first. I didn't get into Sabbath until the 90s, like early 90s. And I keep telling everybody that I talk to online through the podcast and stuff, it's like how lucky our generation is specifically, because we got the best of both worlds. Probably the last generation to do that. Maybe some of the millennials, but man, we got.
Well, I got into Sabbath. Once I got into metal, I was a hard rock kid learning from, I don't know, there was this neighbor, worked on cars and smoked and drank Millers, and he'd always be pumping UFO or something. So I was getting turned on to stuff from him. I didn't have a brother or anything that was around that was influencing me like that. So I had to get it from other places. And then, so as a guitar player, so once heavy metal hit me, it was everything. So of course, Sabbath to Scorpions, UFO, anything and everything heavy metal, hard rock heavy metal.
Absolutely.
So Sabbath was obvious.
Yeah.
And Judas and,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I haven't touched a lot of Judas Priest. That's some of the 80s stuff.
Oh, see, when I was in high school, it was so cliche, dude. It was complete Judas, Sabbath. And then Motorhead and things like the British new wave of British heavy metal creeped in.
Right.
I remember first hearing about Maiden when the EP came out, but it was considered punk rock.
Really?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. And I found out about it by the punk rock kid in town.
Right. Okay. They were not punk rock.
It's because it was so, for that moment, seemed so over the top that he embraced it. They embraced it. And then it became a metal thing. And then, you know, and people don't realize those things. This is showing my age big time. But it's the same with a lot of things, you know, like when they first came out, they were called different things in genres because it didn't have a definition yet.
Right. It was new.
So there was things that were crossing over and nobody knew what to call them.
Yeah.
And then they get called something later, you know?
It's just too much.
All the way up to the grunge era is the same thing. There's things
absolutely. I was going to say the same thing. All this time has passed now. It's just, I can't stand it. I'm just like, it's rock and roll or heavy metal. All of it. I just simplify it. It's just too much. I get that though. All that it was contemporary at the time, brand new. Probably the bridge between Sabbath and Iron Maiden is probably Motorhead, you know, bridging that metal.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Everybody was graduating to different things. And like I say, that continued on into the whole thrash metal thing and punk rock crossover, which I was completely involved in. So when my band became friends with The Accused, and they were getting influenced by heavy metal, being punk rock kids from day one, and us being metal kids getting influenced from the speed and their stuff, and then speed metal, core, and us crossing those things over, then going to San Francisco and playing, seeing Exodus and early Metallica and stuff, which was, they're wearing Misfits shirts and stuff. And then the bills started cohesing together, you know, where we're opening up one show, opening up for Destruction, another show we're opening for Circle Jerks, you know.
What time frame was it? Mid-80s?
Yeah, this is all 84. I said it would have started.
Okay.
Before 85. 85 when it really started. The beginning of crossing over was in 85.
Right. See, I remember the 80s different because I was in like elementary school, getting into junior high towards the end.
Yeah.
And it was like,
I'm talking, we were down in the.
Yeah, you're in the dirt,
trenches,
gritty. Yeah. I was at school, so I don't know what you're talking about. I just
remember just got out of school and we're going out on the road and stuff.
Yeah,
we were in the trenches.
My experience was like, if you listen to heavy metal, you're a burnout stoner.
Yeah, it was like that too.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, and when I got out, and because I was in a band so early that was doing something, I got exposed to all that so much more. And because we were part of the whole tape trading fanzine phenomenon, which it was a phenomenon, that exposed me to it worldwide.
It was the pre-internet internet. It's how
it was the pre-internet, totally.
Tape trading. That's the shit.
It was amazing. It was such an amazing time. It was all DIY, touring, everything was all done through tape trading and fanzines. Selling records, all that. So everybody's like, oh, I got to promote my own stuff on. Dude, we had to promote. It's always been like that. You got to go promote your shit.
Yeah.
Just hanging flyers and writing letters to fanzines and writing back fan mail. That's how it was all snail mail, man, all by hand.
Even,
you know, I didn't have to make a post. I had to make 1,000 flyers every week. We did hang them up around cities, even like when we'd hit other cities.
Yeah.
We're not even 20 yet. And we're running around other cities like San Francisco and stuff, slamming up posters with evaporated milk mixture so it would stick, and then cops trying to get you because it's illegal to do that.
You would take flyer trips down to different cities just to flyer?
Oh, you'd have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
Do that. We did the flyer thing too because, you know, just so everybody knows, I'm 48, so I started music in the early 90s. And then we had to make flyers to get people to shows. So we'd have our girlfriends and our friends coming over to the house and folding up flyers or doing the little postcards, putting postage on them and sending them out before the shows. That's how we did it back then.
Oh yeah, man, we hustled so hard. We
That
had
was
posts
fun.
in our records. We had postcards. We had the stuff from our. We had when we got our record deal. They sent us the records so we would stuff them
That's
because they
awesome.
were going to pay for it to be done.
Yeah.
And I mean, God, the hustle we put in. That's why I crack up when people like bitch about having to do social media. I'm like, yeah.
Honestly, you can still do the physical stuff. And this is for all the younger bands. Just don't rely on social media. Go out and do the physical thing.
Well, that's the thing. I think people can't even comprehend that.
Yeah.
I don't think they can comprehend that. We were sleeping in gas stations in the middle of freaking nowhere, all up and down, whether it was
Shitty hotel.
somewhere in the west side of the Mississippi somewhere.
Sleeping on people's floors, fans' floors.
Oh, all the time. All the time. Our band was called Mace, so we do these Mace aids because of Live Aid and all that.
Yeah.
Mace aids. And we would not have enough money for gas. And so we'd get stuck places.
Oh my God.
And we'd call in kids and fans and we need a show. And so they would do, well, my parents are gone. I remember we did this one crazy one in Nevada City. We're getting off Ozzy. But,
we'll get back to them.
We're in Nevada City and California. It's Nevada City, California. It's not in Nevada. And these kids threw a house party basically for us that we played. And everybody had to bring, to throw a donation in a bucket at the front of the house or bring a can of gas. So all these kids were stealing their parents' lawnmower gas.
Nice.
We had all these things of gas for filling their tank and taking it. Yeah. So that's how we did it back when we were crazy. But no matter what you were into, this is another thing about Ozzy. Like even hanging out with the Accused or any of the punk rock people, it's funny because everybody still loved Ozzy. Punk rock, metal, hard rock. Everybody had a place in their heart for Ozzy.
Sure, yeah. And I was thinking today too, like he never had a lull in his career really from getting fired from Sabbath into his solo career was a little rough for him at first, but
but it blew up. Yeah.
He went through the 80s and then just was not impacted by the grunge scene of the 90s, just kept going.
Yeah, he sailed through that. Yeah.
Yeah, it is his biggest album during that with No More Tears. I think No More Tears is his biggest. Yeah. So just hit after hit. And then it seemed like he got even bigger in the 90s too.
Right.
I mean,
with the TV show and then all that. Yeah.
Yeah. The Osbournes later, but Ozfest was huge.
Ozfest, right. Of course. Ozfest.
That was the first time
the whole other generation got him through that.
Yeah. My first Ozzy show, Epics too. Randy was long gone at that time, but I'm pretty sure Zakk was with them, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong.
I would think, yeah.
But man, Ozfest 97 was my first time seeing Ozzy, and I got to see a full Ozzy solo set. Check this fucking line out. Full Ozzy solo set, all original Black Sabbath with Bill Ward, everybody.
That's cool.
So we got back-to-back Ozzy, and then the openers, I have the list here somewhere. Where is it? The openers, dude, Pantera was the band right before them, I believe. Marilyn Manson, Typo Negative, Fear Factory, and Machine Head and Neurosis, and a bunch more. Coal Chamber, I think, was on the side stage. But we were front row at Blossom Music Center in Cuyahoga Falls for all those bands I just mentioned. And I was like, I don't even need to go back to another Ozfest. It's never going to be this good.
I saw Bark of the Moon. I saw him with Jakey Lee. I think that's can't remember. I feel like I saw him with Brad Gillis too. I don't even remember. I used to just go to anything and everything back then.
Yeah. You had to.
And then I got to where I was actually working musician or studios and like concerts kind of went away.
Yeah.
But then I got to work with Zakk a little bit, got to know Zakk, but
oh yeah. How'd that work out?
I got along with Zakk great. It was an interesting time. He was quite an interesting client that London Bridge Studios had. So he came there to do a solo record with Rick and Rick Parasha, producer who I worked for. And so we had the band house that we'd rent out to, it was like who's ever in town doing a rec, or they'd stay in a hotel, they'd rent out a house that the studio owned. And so I was taking care of the house for him, He was drinking then.
Yeah.
and he was drinking a lot.
It's pretty.
And yeah, it was before he quit drinking. He was drinking a lot. I never had a problem with him, but there was a couple of funny things. He would be on the phone with his wife and stuff, and they'd get in arguments or whatever, or his label, who knows? I don't know, but he'd punch holes in the walls
Oh, wow.
when he'd get mad. So I got really good at fixing holes in walls.
I bet.
How to plaster that. So I did a lot of that, and yeah, I could tell more. I don't want to say stuff about him. That wouldn't be cool. Drinking stories, though, that were kind of funny. But, you know, he was an imposing figure around Seattle while he was there. But, you know, fantastic player, obviously. We kind of became friends. I was doing some solo shows of my own, and he actually came out to one of those and wrote me a little letter and sent it backstage. I have it somewhere, saved somewhere. And I reached out to him once on Instagram a couple of years ago. And he wrote back.
Oh, nice.
Oh, man, so nice to hear from you. So, yeah, he's always a totally cool guy with me and remembers me. So that was nice. I'm walking into the studio. I remember I'm sitting at the piano, you know, in between, you know, waiting for things to go. And I didn't realize what a great piano player he was. And banjo, too. The guy can rip on banjo.
Really? That's.
Yeah. So, you know, he's a musician's musician for sure.
Yeah, he's great, man. You know who we need to go see sometime is his Black Sabbath cover band, Zakk Sabbath.
Yeah, Zakk Sabbath. Yeah.
They're fun. They're fun. I've seen them several times, but they're great. They're
He's
worth
a monster, man. He was in his Zakk Wylde phase when he was up in Seattle. He had big record label people visiting him. Like, it was pretty funny. It's pretty cliche, you know, white limos with record executives coming.
Yeah.
Clodner, big record executive who like signed Aerosmith and all that. It was pretty wild.
Yeah, he stayed
to watch.
Really close with Ozzy the whole time. I mean,
Yeah. They seem to never fade. That was a long-lasting relationship.
And for those who don't know, he's in the current iteration of Pantera. They actually just canceled dates so they could go back to their families and stuff because it was pretty tough. In the Pantera, you know, Ozzy helped them out a lot in the 90s.
Yeah, but he helped so many bands out. So many people.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Metallica. He took Metallica out. I think it was 86 or 87. I don't know what, that might have been the Ultimate Sin tour. I could be wrong.
He took so many bands. Broke a lot of bands.
Yeah.
He worked with amazing producers as well.
Yeah.
Guitar players. He really made a lot of people's careers.
Yeah. What an icon, man. Now, even more so that he's gone. It's like the cultural impact is insane. It's just really blown my mind. But
when I was in England last time, I actually went to Birmingham and I sat at there's like the bench there. I had a picture.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the Black
Sabbath. So I sat there, got a picture, stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe I'll take a pilgrimage out there someday.
Yeah, but I love Birmingham. People in England and stuff kind of talk shit about it, but I got to tell you, we had the best time there. I loved it. Fucking great restaurants. People were super nice in Birmingham. We were sitting in a restaurant. The people next to us heard American accent and bought us drinks, sent us drinks over. Enjoy your time in Birmingham. So what? People in elevators start talking to you, making friends with you. We saw a guy. We're waiting for a ride outside our hotel, and a guy walks by us with a Pittsburgh Steelers shirt.
Oh no!
I'm like, no way. Hey, nice shirt. He goes, yeah, Pittsburgh Steelers. English dude, fully. He just starts going off about the Steelers. I'm like, wow, okay.
I'm not even a sports fan, but I'm in Cleveland. We don't know what that means.
Yeah. But it's interesting. Like, it's a cool town. I really liked it there.
I'd like to spend some time out there. Maybe the next few years I'll get out to Europe. I haven't been out there yet, so it'd be cool to see some of that stuff. Well, and
I enjoy England in particularly a lot.
Getting back to Ozzy, man, here's one kind of annoying thing. It's not annoying. It's all the podcasts, the major podcasts that have been talking about Ozzy this week. They talk about their favorite songs and they always go to the hits. They say, you know, War Pigs and Crazy Train, all of them.
Right.
And it's so short-sighted in a way because the depth of the music, especially of Black Sabbath, they didn't have a bad album in the 70s. That's my opinion.
They didn't even have a bad album with other singers. Not taking away from Ozzy, but I love one of my favorite, now I know this is an Ozzy thing, but one of my favorite Sabbath records is Born Again.
Oh, really? Interesting. What do you like about it?
I know a lot of people say that. I think it's a fantastic album. I think Ian Gillan just kills it on that record. I think Disturbing the Priest is one of the scariest songs ever. I
Right
just
on.
think it's a freaking great record. And of course, the Dio records are amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Heaven and Hell,
You know,
man.
amazing record.
Yeah.
But,
Legend of the
you
City.
know, but back to Ozzy.
Neon Nights. Of course, we got to, tip our hat to
And
James
yeah,
Dio.
Mob Rules.
Yeah.
Sabbath themselves were obviously a great band because they were able to continue making phenomenal records. And then Ozzy too. So I love that they all got back together again and realized everybody was cool with each other.
Yeah. Yeah, me too, man. I'm glad I got to see it. I got to see it several times. So, and they were great, man. But I'm gonna shout out to some of my favorites.
Yeah, let's hear. What do you think?
Because they're not getting celebrated.
I haven't went through the Sabbath catalog in so long. I can't think of.
I'll shoot some off here.
All right.
The Wizard, first album.
Yeah.
Killer, man. Wheels of Confusion, Volume 4. That Volume 4 is one of my favorite Sabbath albums. It changes. They're a lot like Zeppelin to me. I can't really tell you. It just changes. With
They did, they are kind of like a Zeppelin that way because if you think of like Presence and Physical Graffiti, there's
Right.
kind of like, what's the Sabbath was the guy in the plane.
Die.
Yeah. That, and then, that was like their Presence or something.
I would say.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Same era.
Yeah, it's, I don't know, man.
Yeah, dude, it's tough. Like, even I wrote down 10 songs here. I was like, man,
I kind of think of them more as albums than I can songs. You know what I mean?
Me too. That's kind of my point. But I'm just kind of pushing back with the,
Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. I mean,
War Pig's on my list. War Pigs is a great song. Looking for Today. Probably my favorite Black Sabbath song is Spiral Architect from Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. And National
all of Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath.
Yeah, it's just a masterpiece. It doesn't get talked about enough, I don't think. That's my opinion. But Spiral Architect is it's like a pretty positive lyrically.
He did that. He'd throw those in there. You just didn't notice because of his imagery. And where he went the other way, he really went that way. He did it in the Ozzy's, in his solo stuff too.
Well, yeah, Suicide Solution. He got all kinds of shit for that song in the 80s. And
one of my favorites. And that's one of my absolute favorites.
That's like an anti-suicide song. If you listen or read the words.
Yeah, he's talking about,
dude. There's so many. Solitude. Sabbath was so diverse too. It wasn't just riffs. Everybody likes the heavy stuff.
That's what I was saying. They were a deep freaking band. Like they were. Yeah. Just calling them a heavy metal band is kind of
disservice.
A disservice to them. And that, once again, the comparison to a Zeppelin-esque type thing, because they were definitely artists. It was a much deeper than just being a heavy metal band.
Absolutely. They had a little bit of jazz in there with Bill Ward. He kind of played like that. His phrasing was like that.
Bill Ward is so sick. Once again, the Zeppelin comparisons are so apparent because of, when you think of John Paul Jones and you think of Bonham, it's the same type of thing. Page, Iommi, like they had depth. Much more depth than they're probably given credit for.
Yeah. And, 4-piece band. A lot of noise coming out of those guys, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Zepp too. Jeez. We go on. We'll have another episode about Zeppelin, I'm sure someday. Yeah.
Well, Zeppelin always gets that praise, though. Sabbath got so lumped into the heavy metal.
Right.
Even more so.
Right.
Zeppelin did, but.
Dude, yeah, they're much more diverse. Everybody who's not just hip to War Pigs and Paranoid, great. They're great songs. I'm not hating on any of those, but go in, deep tracks. Every album's awesome. If not, you're missing out. Your life will be better if you listen to it.
Yeah, they made albums. They made records. Like I always talk about the lost art of record making. They were record makers.
Yeah, they sure were. And then, the Ozzy solo songs, my favorite, No More Tears, probably. Road to Nowhere.
Oh, the problem, here's the difference between Ozzy solo stuff and the Sabbath stuff that we were just talking about or pointing out is that as a band, they could be deep an artist and do album like pieces of work. When he went solo, he was more prone to have singles, have producers intervene, maybe write the cheesy song here and there.
Sure.
That didn't happen with Sabbath because you had this core.
It was a band's band.
It was a band's band, right. And so with the solo stuff, and it became more commercial and So that was a different element to it.
Yeah. Different.
But the fact that he took on this role as this guy who could find and discover and put super bands together consistently was cool, that he took that role on and took it serious enough to keep delivering that way. Like he kept, it was a thing, a dream to make an Ozzy lineup band. Of course I dreamt that after Randy died. I'm like, oh my God, can I audition? Yeah. Yeah. Every kid did. Every kid, man, if I could just one day be an Ozzy guitarist. Right. That was the thing. And same with any player. If you made it to the level of being in the Ozzy lineup, that was like being on the Olympic team or something.
Yeah. Big shoes to fill. Randy. Ooh.
But look, I'm just saying that was every guitarist's dream, sure. And or anybody, bass players, whatever, and we see where everybody's went to from there.
Gosh, we need to talk about
all the great players that came through Ozzy's lineups.
And Randy was only around for 2 records, right?
Yeah.
And then gone, just like that. I think it was, how old was he? 24? Something like that.
I think so. 24, 25. I should know that. Can't remember.
Something's wrong with the universe, man, when somebody like that gets taken out so quick.
Well, I was just reading something too where I came across an interview just scrolling where Rudy was talking about the real bummer was that he had gotten so much better right before he died from that last Diary of Madman tour. His playing had progressed so much from those touring that nobody got to hear where he was at. Like on his next recording, probably I guess would have been
next level,
mind blowing, because he said he was just so incredibly better than where he was. It's just like hard to comprehend. But he was taking it somewhere. But it makes sense. I'm sure he was, because at that point you had the Eddie Van Halen, Rhoads, blah blah blah. He won the best new talent guitar player thing. He was. I know he was studying super hard classical and stuff. So he was probably going to make a next record that would have been, some phenomenal stuff on it.
There's so many people that were gone too early that we could talk about forever. God damn it! What?
Like I said, though, Ozzy, what? Another thing you have to hand it to him, like the careers he made for other people.
Oh yeah, it's countless. All the producers.
Mike Inez went to Alice. Alice in Chains touring with Ozzy.
Right. Score they got, with Mike. He was totally cool with that too. He's, you better go. You're like, when Mike asked him, hey, what do you think about this? I'm going to shove my foot up your ass if you don't go.
Yeah. And then, he's just, he was a catalyst for a lot of.
Yeah. Randy Castillo.
Tons of jump.
Mike Inez, great bass player. Another guy that doesn't get talked about as much, man. We're going to have to try and get him on. I want to talk to that dude. He's a
nice dude. Very nice.
One of my favorite bass players too, of the 90s for sure. But man, Ozzy, what the hell? Did such a good job, man. A great job. What a legend.
Yeah, he went, he came, he conquered, and he went. That's for sure.
Did you get to check out the last show? Any of the footage of that?
Yeah, I saw it on TV. We have a VPN. We got to watch the concert.
How long was it? I didn't watch it.
It was long.
Yeah, it was all day, man.
But yeah, I got to see a lot of it.
Yeah.
I was kind of going, God, I wish I could have went after I seen all that.
Me too.
That was a star-studded event. Yeah.
Everybody was there. Everybody's posting on their Instagram. It's like, you're there. What the hell? Yeah, that's one I'll regret. But I did get to see him one last time. When was that? It was 19. No, it's not 19. It was 2018, I believe. I'm written down here somewhere. At Blossom in Cleveland. And I remember it being an awesome show. And I went back and looked at some of the footage on YouTube, and he sounded fucking great, man. And he looked great. It was.
He always said, he always pulled off. His voice was always still there.
Yeah, he wasn't that sick back then. It was like, right before COVID.
Yeah.
It was like, got to check him out one more time. Zakk was with him, and Blasco, which I've interviewed before on my previous podcast. Another really good.
And talk about living like the rock and roll lifestyle and all. He can't get any more rock.
No. Will there be another one?
Dude, things, peeing on the Alamo, eating this, drugs, Motley Crue story, like this, like out party the hardest partiers, like just everything.
Yeah. He did everything at 100.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Got to see him one more time. Wish I could have gone to that show. Everybody was there. What a way to go out, too. Nobody
I
gets
know,
a
just
chance
so
to
crazy.
by like that. And for him to just pass away, what was it, 2 weeks later, a little over?
It's crazy.
Like he had plans to do more, and
Did you see that letter? There was online. Somebody posted. He posted a letter that he wrote to Jakey Lee.
no.
Yeah, so he wrote a letter to him saying, handwritten letter, saying that he was sorry that he didn't get to see him at the show more, or I don't know if he didn't see him at all, or just didn't have a chance to spend enough time with him. Saying sorry, I was tired and it was so busy and it was such a crazy show. Love you, man, and it's that kind of stuff. And I hope you at least had fun. And da 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 da, and hope to see you back in LA. Let's get together. Da da da.
Yeah, I think he wanted to be around a little.
So yeah, I don't know.
Sad, but man, perfect way to go out, I guess.
Yeah,
76 years old, partied as hard as he did, and he lasted that long.
I mean, he did it. He full on did it.
Yeah, there's a page in I think is his last book, I Am Ozzy. I have it here. It said his funeral plans are kind of in here. It says, I said to Sharon, don't cremate me, whatever you do. I want to be put in the ground in a nice garden somewhere with a tree planted over my head, a crabapple tree, preferably, so the kids can make wine out of me and get pissed out of their minds.
I saw that she is burying him in their yard, in their
in a private
yeah, I saw it. They showed it in their big mansion or whatever in England. That's where she's burying him there on their grounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to give.
I don't know about the tree, but they showed that they mentioned that that's where he's going to be buried.
I hope they do exactly that.
Which is another, like, how cool is that thing? It's not at a cemetery somewhere. He's like on his grounds with his big giant house, rock and
now
roll.
They're gonna have to keep
manner.
Now they're going to have to keep that house.
Yeah.
Going for millennia. So
I think it's probably some way too. Isn't there like something like with taxes and things like that if you're buried on your?
I have no idea.
There's some kind of thing about being buried on your ground. So knowing Sharon, there's a financial reason.
Oh, maybe. Who knows? I doubt it. They have all the money in the world. 100 million albums sold. We'll probably never see this kind of creature on planet Earth again.
So, yeah, I don't think so.
Rock and roll's in the underground, man. It's still alive and well there, and I think it's probably fine right there.
Yeah.
We'll just leave it at that. What else are you doing before we get off here? So where can everybody find you, your music services, and whatever?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. Dave Hillis Music on Instagram, and yeah, I'm always producing, mixing, engineering. I love to find new bands that I can help out in the studio in any way that I can. So please reach out. Please look me up.
Right on.
Lots of things online about me or whatever. Cool. And yeah, I'm available. I love working with new bands. So
we're right on. We'll hang on the line, but we'll just sign off. Thanks for talking about Ozzy.
Well, I'm glad I got to talk about Ozzy. What a huge part of my life and inspiration in my career.
Me too, brother. Me too. Thanks for talking, man.
All right.
Take it easy.
Bye.